Juliane Koepcke was only 17 years old in 1971. She had just graduated from high school in Lima, Peru, and was excited to spend Christmas with her family. Juliane's parents were German scientists working in the Amazon rainforest, where they conducted ecological research. On Christmas Eve, Juliane and her mother boarded Lanza Flight 508, a small commercial airplane, for the journey from Lima to Pucallpa, a town in the Peruvian Amazon. The plane was filled with travelers, many heading home for the holidays. The first part of the flight went smoothly, but as they flew over the dense Amazon jungle, a severe thunderstorm surrounded them. The plane was soon caught in powerful turbulence. Juliane held tightly to her seat as the plane shook violently, watching with fear as the clouds turned darker and lightning crackled through the sky around them. The storm worsened, and the plane began to descend abruptly, causing screams of panic throughout the cabin. Then, in a split second, disaster struck. Avalam sa pas el talalta, a repulo gepet, setza kitva, a levagoben. Juliane felt herself being ejected from the aircraft as her seat was ripped from the floor, and she was suddenly free-falling into the dark abyss below. She fell from a height of about 10,000 feet, over 3,000 meters, strapped only to her seat and surrounded by the storm's fury. Miraculously, Juliane survived the fall. The thick canopy of trees cushioned her landing enough to keep her alive, although she was severely injured. When she regained consciousness, she found herself lying on the forest floor, still strapped to her seat. She was dizzy, bruised, and in excruciating pain. Her collarbone was broken. She had deep cuts on her legs and arms, and her right eye was swollen shut. She was also missing her glasses, making everything a blur. As Juliane began to grasp her surroundings, she realized she was alone in one of the most dangerous jungles in the world. There was no sign of other survivors, including her mother, who had been sitting next to her. Overwhelmed by the reality of her situation, Juliane knew she had to gather her strength and survive. Fortunately, her parents' research in the jungle had given her a basic knowledge of survival skills. Remembering her father's advice, she understood that finding water was essential, as a river or stream could eventually lead her to human settlements. Despite her injuries, she began to search for a water source, painfully dragging herself through the dense undergrowth. Eventually, she found a small creek. Although she was severely dehydrated, the water gave her the strength to continue moving forward. For 9 long days, Juliane followed the creek downstream, enduring one hardship after another. She had no food, except for a few pieces of candy she found in her pocket, and hunger gnawed at her constantly. Her wounds were exposed to the jungle's many insects, and she soon noticed maggots beginning to infest the cut on her arm. The pain and horror of watching her wounds deteriorate were nearly unbearable. Yet she continued, driven by sheer willpower. The jungle was teeming with life, but also with threats. Snakes, venomous insects, and poisonous plants surrounded her at every turn. She encountered caimans, jungle predators, that could easily have attacked her. At times, she felt completely hopeless, surrounded by the impenetrable forest, her path shrouded in mist and dense foliage. Yet, despite her exhaustion, she clung to the hope that her journey downstream would eventually lead her to safety. There were moments of profound despair. At one point, she spotted a group of vultures circling overhead, as if they were waiting for her to collapse. This eerie sight reminded her of how close to death she was, but it also fueled her determination to survive. She continued to walk day after day, withstanding the pain in her injured body and the endless torment of hunger. On the 9th day, after days of battling fatigue, hunger, and infection, Juliane stumbled upon an incredible sight. A small boat moored on the riverbank. The sight of the boat brought her renewed hope, as she realized it meant she was close to civilization. Nearby, she found a small hut, likely used by local loggers. Exhausted, she entered the hut and waited, hoping someone would soon arrive. The following day, a group of loggers found her lying in the hut, weak but alive. Shocked by her story and her resilience, they treated her wounds as best they could and transported her by boat to the nearest town. From there, Juliane was flown to a hospital, where she was reunited with her father. Tragically, her mother had not survived the crash, and Juliane was the sole survivor of Lanza Flight 508. In the years that followed, Juliane Koepcke's story became an inspiration worldwide. She went on to become a biologist, dedicating her life to studying the rainforest that had almost claimed her life. Her survival against all odds serves as a powerful reminder of the strength of the human spirit. Her incredible journey through the Amazon, filled with pain, resilience, and determination, stands as one of the most remarkable survival stories in history.